Today we're going to be reading and doing a read-along to The Stone Lion by Margaret Wilde and Ritva Vutila. Before I even start reading this page, I'm already noticing a lot of images. It looks windy. I can see an umbrella that's up in the clouds. The birds are flying around. The clouds are quite dark. The trees are bending. It looks like the leaves are blowing off, so my brain goes, I think this could be autumn, because it really looks like they're the deciduous trees that lose their leaves at that time of year. And the buildings look quite brown. I'm thinking that they might be stone, just like the lion. It's making me think of England. Making me think of England in the old days, but we'll have to wait and see. As I quickly scanned down the page, I noticed a word that stood out for me straight away. It's scuttled. Now, scuttled is a word that I would often use if I was talking about mice running really quickly, doing really quick little steps. I wonder if that's the meaning that they have in this text. Let's read it. The stone lion that crouched outside the library looked so real, so fierce and cold, that small children scuttled past at the sight of him. I think they're using that word scuttled there to show that maybe the kids are scared of the lion. Maybe he looks that realistic that they're scared of him. Some people, though, stopped to lean against the lion. One was a girl called Sarah. She would huddle next to him, cradling a tiny bundle, and her tears would fall like rain on his paws. Oh, Sarah looks like saying a bundle. That to me looks like she's carrying a baby or a baby doll. I wonder why she's crying. And I wonder why she gets comfort from a cold stone lion. Now, when I quickly look at this page, there's two things that stand out. Firstly, there's a picture of a gargoyle. Now, the gargoyle were often put in old buildings as signs of protection to either scare off bad spirits or to just provide protection for those that were coming in. Now, I can see that the word gargoyle is in the text, so yep, I'm right in that assumption. But another word in there that stands out for me is portico. Now, portico can be used for a lot of different buildings that have columns, but normally it's used with a porch. So you have a little awning out maybe at the front of your house and it has columns holding it up. That's another word for portico, so it's part of an entrance. So let's see if the meaning of that is that what it says in the text. Why does she weep? The lion asked the wise old gargoyle on the portico. The gargoyle knew everything because blackbirds, sparrows and pigeons perched on it and told him all the secrets of the city. Now, perched is an interesting word. See how there's a pigeon sitting on his head right now? That's what perched means. If you've got a bird and it likes to sit on a stick, it's a perch. It's where it likes to sit. It wraps its little claws around and sits down. Sarah cries because she and her baby brother are homeless and alone, the gargoyle said. Oh, said the lion, gazing coldly into the distance. This really does make me think of old, and when they're talking about her baby brother and Sarah being homeless. In England, there was a period of time, and in Europe, a period of time where a lot of children didn't have families and they were living on the street. They used to call them street urchins or waifs. Now, they're words that we don't hear very often now, but just think there was that many kids that didn't have homes, that they had special terms for them. These were kids that they used to maybe pickpocket or steal to help raise money to look after themselves, or they sold things. They might collect pieces of coal that fell off a truck, or they might go and collect nuts that they can collect in the forest and sell. So it is sort of confirming to me that my view that this was set in England or Europe in the 1800s or 1900s is looking a little bit closer to reality. Now, when I look at this image, I can see that our views of a portico being the entrance, I think that's pretty confirmed. The way he's got his umbrella leaned up, it looks like someone's left an umbrella there outside. I can still see the gargoyle, and I can still see the lion. So, yep, we're definitely the beginning of the building. And when I quickly scanned through the text, a word that stood out for me was despairingly. Now that's a really strong word. A despairingly means if you've lost all hope. So let's see what the context is in this text. Ben, who worked at the library, often leaned against the lion while he ate his sandwiches and read a book. Now and again, he would laugh or sigh. Ah, so we're definitely at a library. Okay, that makes sense. What's in the book that makes him do that? The lion asked the gargoyle. He's reading stories about living creatures who feel happy or sad, despairingly or hopeful, said the gargoyle. Ah, that makes sense why that word would be there, because they're talking about all the different emotions that we can get from reading a text. If he could have, the lion would have shrugged, but he had no idea what those feelings were. I guess he's a stone lion. We don't really imagine inanimate things to have feelings. I wish I was alive, he said, but just so I could move. That's all I want. Sometimes stone animals are granted a chance to become warm, breathing creatures, said the gargoyle, but it is for a very short time only, and they must desire it greatly with a generous heart. Oh, I do desire it greatly, said the lion. I do. Something interesting in this part, I can see in the bottom right-hand corner, the back of a car. I think we've just confirmed the time frame. This car is definitely not a modern day car. This is definitely going into the early 1900s, which we thought. So, okay. My inferences about when the story was set, I think pretty much is confirmed. Now, in here, the lion is saying he really does desire it, but it talked about having a generous heart. If I'm thinking of a generous heart, I know that's, to me, someone who's really kind and giving and will do things for others. I wonder if that's what it means in this context. Now, when I look at this picture straight away, the first two words tell me he imagined, so I know that this isn't really happening. This is something that the lion is thinking of, which is why the images look so different to they were on the previous page. Now, if I scan down quickly through the words, I see, pedestal. Now, that is the base of the statue. So when you look at the stone lion, the square block that he's sitting on, that's known as a pedestal. We've got strolling, prowling, pouncing, leaping. These are all really good verbs. Strolling, well, I know that means to walk at a leisurely pace, like to walk calmly. Prowling, that's when an animal's on the hunt, when they creep down low and they're about to attack an animal. Pouncing and leaping, well, that looks like he's doing in the picture. That's when they jump and they look all really happy, and we've got a little kitten that's being silly. They often pounce and leap. So let's read this one. He imagined strolling along the wide street that he saw from his pedestal. Yep, that makes sense. He imagined running in the green depths of the park across the road, prowling, pouncing, leaping. Oh, I really like the way they said running in the green depths of the park, because look how different the images from the park to the images that we had from the stone lion. That green really does stand out. No wonder he wants to go there. But he could not swish his tail or flick a whisker. First thing I notice in this image is the snow. So I think when we predicted earlier that it was autumn, it was probably the very end of autumn, because I think a little bit of time has passed. Now that looks like the same girl, and we've got the same birds. They've still got some of their berries. But yeah, I think the snow's been going for a while, because there's quite a bit of snow on the roofs, and the stone lion has quite a layer of snow on him as well. Doing a quick scan before I read. I might want to double check stumbled. I know that's when we're tripping. And on the second page it says swayed. Ooh, sometimes you get a little bit dizzy and you feel like you're going to fall over. I think that's the context they're going to use, but let's just double check. One evening, it snowed heavily. There was no one except Ben at the library. Out of the whiteness, Sarah suddenly came running. She stumbled up the steps and put a basket by the lion's paws. I'm so tired, she said to the clouds and the wind, so cold and hungry. She swayed and then sank to the steps, her body limp, her eyes closed. Limp? Well, that's when you've got no movement in it. That's when you just sort of fall down into a heap. So her body's got nothing left in it, nothing left to give. Inside the basket was a baby with a tuft of red hair. A snowflake fell on the baby's nose. Oh, I didn't know a baby was in that basket when she put it down. I thought it was just full of her stuff. Wow, I wonder why she put it inside the lion's paws. Maybe they feel safe again. Wow, something looks a little bit different in this picture. I like the way they've got... Is that the way the snow's falling down? It makes it look like the lion's crying? I don't know, something definitely looks different. I think I'll have to read and have a look, but before I read it, I'm going to quick scan through and double check if there's any words. Now, first one stands out to me, suffer. Now, suffer, I know that's when something bad happens. You know, like if someone's suffering, they're going through something bad. Wailed, oh, I know that's a really high pitched like scream. That's just not like, you know, when a baby does a little cry. This is when it's sobbing. It's that really, really deep, powerful cry. Pity. Now, pity is more than just feeling sorry for someone. It's having that genuine feeling of sorrow and compassion towards another person. It's sort of even deeper than sorry. Heart flickered. I think you imagine a little flame, and you know when the flame moves, that's what flickered is. Alright, let's see if we can read it and see if all those knowledge that we have of words makes sense. Sarah and her brother will suffer out here in the snow, thought the lion. The baby wailed, waving a tiny fist. Yep, that part's definitely making sense. The lion knows that these poor kids shouldn't be out there in the snow. The lion felt a spark of pity in his chest. I can see that's why he's changing. Sarah and the baby will become cold and hard, he thought, unable to walk or jump, or run or jump or feel, just like me. His heart flickered. If I could, I would take them into the library where it was warm and safe. If only I could move. I'm getting it. He's starting to actually think about other people, isn't he? He's not just wanting to move around so he can go and play. He's definitely starting to think of others. Interesting. Now, I think our predictions were right, our inferences. The lion definitely is changing. You can see straight away in the picture he's no longer grey. But there's a lot of words in here that I need to clarify before we read on. Now, fervently. That's another word for really passionately, like you really, really want something. It's a strong passional belief. Flexed. So imagine if you're stretching out your fingers, your arms, you're flexing them. Glanced, we know that's when you do a quick little look around just to make sure everything's okay. Chuckled and squirmed. Now, squirmed means to move about. Loped. That's an interesting word. That means to walk in really long strides. So you're not rushing about, you're not running, it's that really long, relaxed step. Okay, well, let's read it and see if those words make sense. He'd never desired anything so fervently before. Of course, he'd never wanted anything with so much passion before. With a jolt, he felt his heart start to beat. He shook his mane. He flexed his claws. He stretched his legs. He glanced around at the street and at the park that he'd so often longed to explore. I like the way he glanced at the park, so he still knows the park's there. Remember, all this lion's ever wanted to do is run around at that park. But then he leaned down and licked the snowflake off the baby's nose. It chuckled and squirmed. The lion gripped the handle of the basket in his powerful jaws. Muscles rippled as he loped towards the entrance and pushed the glass doors open. Good. So he's picked up the baby and he's done those nice, long, casual steps to take him inside. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think I'd be as calm as Ben if I saw a lion inside the library, but that's okay. Let's see what we've got here. Now, if I look through the words just quickly, paced down the aisles. Now, paced is a word for walking, and the aisles are the rows. So, if you're at a supermarket and you've got the aisles, they're the different lanes. Um, Ben peered. Now, peered is one of those words, we often use it just for look, but the actual meaning of it is to look with concentration. So you're really actually focused on what you're looking at. So sometimes we go, oh, we peered at this, but it really does actually mean that we're looking at it with really deep concentration. Okay, let's see the story. Inside the library, light shone like the sun. It was as warm as a summer day. But it was silent, and Ben was nowhere to be seen. The lion paced down the aisle between the shelves, looking for Ben. He put down the basket and roared. Ben peered around a bookshelf. He couldn't believe his eyes. Yeah, that would make sense. I think I would concentrate. If I heard a lion, I would probably run, but Ben's a bit braver than me. It was you, he said with wonder. You always did look so lifelike. He hurried to pick up the child. It's freezing, poor little thing. I wonder why the lion's looking outside the window. He looks quite sad, actually. The opening line says the lion gazed longingly. Now, to gaze longingly is that you're looking at something that you really want very much. It's something that, it's in your heart that you want to do. I wonder if he's looking out the window, looking at the park. Let's read the first little paragraph and see. The lion gazed longingly over his shoulder at the world outside. He wanted to plunge down the steps 3 at a time. He wanted to bound along the street and run through the park. Okay, yeah, that's why he's looking so sad. Now, plunge is a pretty cool word. That's to throw yourself down. So he wanted to plunge down the steps. He wanted to throw his body forward. He wanted to pounce and prowl and leap. But already he could feel his joints stiffening, his sinews knotting. So that's all his muscles and ligaments. They're all starting to go hard again. I wonder why they're going hard again. What's going on? And there was still one more thing he had to do. Oh, I wonder what's the next thing he has to do. I wonder if it's going to the park. I don't think so, but I don't know. He really wants to do it. He padded back outside. Interesting use of the word padded there. I think that might be showing that because the rest of his body is getting stiff and hard, the pads of the feet, so lions like dogs and cats and animals have those soft pads on the bottom of their feet. So I think that's showing that his feet are still nice and soft. So he padded back outside. He seized Sarah's jacket between his teeth and gently pulled her into the library. So seized is he's grabbing at it. Okay, so he's grabbing and pulling her. He then turned and dragged himself out through the door. Interesting, he seized and pulled her in. Now he's having to drag himself out. I wonder if that's because his body's getting really hard to move. It does say his paws were so heavy he could hardly lift them. Crouching, he settled back on his pedestal. Oh, crouching is now when we get back into that sitting position where we're sort of down on our knees. Ooh, he would never move again. Oh, that's pretty serious. Now, when I look at this picture straight away, I know that that's Ben from the library. And he looks like he's talking when he's cupping his hand. He looks like he's talking to just the lion. And when I quickly scanned through the text, the one word that really stood out for me was contentment. Now, contentment means a state of happiness and satisfaction. So if you're content, you're really satisfied and happy with something that you have done. So the story says the next morning the library was full with children, their voices as bright as birds in the trees. Ben came out to sit next to the lion. He whispered, "It still feels like a dream, but I know it was you who saved Sarah and her little brother." Inside his great stone body, the lion purred with contentment. From that day, children always stopped on their way into the library to stroke his mane. "He looks as cold as stone," they said, "but he feels as warm as toast." I really like that image that they're saying there. I think that they can feel the inner goodness of the lion. Now, the last 2 pages of the story I haven't put up here. I want you, I've attached it as a separate as the student response section in Seesaw. I want you to do a read aloud of the last 2 pages. So I want you to actually read the story out loud, but I want you to put in your thinking processes. So if you notice in the pictures something, I want you to say it. Now, I know in the first one, there's 2 kids in the picture. Who are they? Do you have any ideas of who they might be? What are the pictures around them? Are there any words in there that you're not sure? Are you okay with all the words? On the very last page, same thing. I want you to explain, what do you think that it means? What does it mean to you? Okay, so I want you to have a go at just the last 2 pages, doing your own version of a think aloud.